Hey, and welcome to the Traveler's House channel. We're so glad you're here. Thanks for watching. We've got a fun one for you today. Today we're going to be talking about making nerdy coffee. V60, Chemex pour over, whatever you call it, that's what we're doing in today's video. But first things first. This method is called pour over because we're going to be pouring the water over the grounds. This is different than something like a French press, which is an immersion method. We'll be talking about that in another video. We also need to take a second to talk about grind density. This is one of the most important pieces of making great coffee. And as we talked about in another video, the size of your grounds can make your coffee taste drastically different. But just to reiterate, for this method, the finer the grinds, the longer it will take the water to go through and the stronger your coffee will be. But if your grounds are too coarse, your coffee will be weak. So down to the process. We think this is a fantastic way of making coffee. So grab a bag of whichever kind of coffee you're going to be making. Here at Travelers, we typically use a single origin for our coffee. But no matter what kind of coffee you're going to be making it with this method will bring out specific tasting notes that will be different than if you use the same coffee, but a different brewing method. If you have whole beans, that really works the best. But if you don't have a grinder at home, that's okay. Pick up a bag of coffee from Travelers and we'll grind it for you. Just let us know how you want it ground. Now down to the million-dollar question. How much coffee do you actually use? Well, it all depends on how much you're making. And like we talked about in our other video, a trusty ratio will come in handy here. You'll hear all sorts of opinions from your coffee snob friends, but most experts agree anywhere from 15:1 to 18:1 is acceptable. Here at Travelers, we use a 15:1 ratio. That means we use 15 parts water for every 1 part of coffee. You may prefer something different, and that's okay. If you don't already know what ratio you like, you'll have to do some experimenting here, and we can totally get behind your caffeine addiction. I know this sounds like a lot of math, but to avoid doing the math pre-caffeine, follow some of our pro tips. Do the math in the afternoon when you're already awake. Use Google or Alexa to do the math for you, or write it down on something permanent, like a tattoo or sticky note. Today we're making 60 ounces of coffee. Here's what you'll need. Coffee, obviously. A V60 dripper and server, although you might have an all-in-one brewer like a Chemex. A paper filter. Though at home I use a permanent filter, which can in the long run help save you money and probably the environment. A gooseneck kettle. Any kind of kettle can work, but a gooseneck will help with consistent pouring. And a scale. And if your scale doesn't have a built-in timer, a timer. And that's it. And water. And a way to heat it, but that's it. That's it. Let's talk about the scale for a second. And here we're going to have to use the metric system. I know the rest of the world looks at us a little crazy because we don't like or really use the metric system. But to avoid having to use a bunch of decimal points, complicated algebraic equations, let's just use grams. It's easier, I promise. Your scale should have a mode to weigh in grams. Today we're going to be making 16 ounces of coffee. That's close enough to 475 grams. So take 475, divide by 15, and you get 32 grams of coffee. If you're going to be making a different size, don't worry, we've done all the complicated math for you. It'll be at the end of this video. Now down to the actual brewing steps. Take your 32 grams of coffee and grind it at a medium fine grind density. Take a V60 dripper and filter. Pre-wash the filter to remove any papery taste it may leave behind in your coffee. Add the grounds to the filter and tare your scale. That means starting at 0. Now for the bloom. Start your timer and pour about 60 grams of water evenly over the grounds, making sure to get it all wet. We also like to add the step of swirling it to make a slurry. Then we wait. We know it's hard, but it's only 30 seconds. Once we reach 30 seconds, pour about 2/3 of the remaining water over the grounds in a circular pattern. This is important because it will agitate the beans, isn't that annoying, and help promote even extraction. Wait till most of the water runs through. You'll notice there's a wall of grounds along the outside of the dripper. We're going to knock those back into the middle by pouring slowly around the outside. Continue pouring until you reach 475 grams. And now we wait. Finally. The whole process should take you no more than 1 to 4 minutes, depending on the size you're making and your exact brewer method. Thanks so much for watching this video. Hit the like button, subscribe if you're not already, and we'll see you in the next one.